And so it's so good to be back with you all again this Sunday evening. I'll start off just with a couple of brief announcements. I want to thank everyone for the generous donations this last week, especially Christopher Dale and Butch. So thank you all so much. If you have a question, please leave it in the comment section below. Or if you're meeting on the Zoom broadcast, just raise your hand or leave me a comment that you'd like to have the mic. So I thought we might start off this evening by just going inward a little bit. And I'm going to ask you this question as you go inward. So if you can just close your eyes, and I want you just to feel your body. Just notice how your body feels this evening, whatever time of day it is for you. So just take a couple deep breaths, and I invite you just to open your crown, your third eye, your throat, your heart, your belly. We're just bringing a sense of awareness here. In the most gentle way, I'm going to repeat this question again and again. I invite you just to see what comes forward. And so the question we'll be sitting with is, how can I surrender more deeply now? So if you just feel into your form, how can I surrender more deeply now? And I invite you to ask your subtle energetic body this question: how can I surrender more deeply now? And so you're feeling into your body and just noticing what karmic chains are holding you back. Notice if there's any heartache or despair or anything emotional floating around. How can I surrender more deeply now? So you're just feeling into your body and listening. We're listening from a space of open-hearted awareness. Listening from a space of absolute innocence. You're just asking this body of yours, is there anything stuck here in my subtle energetic body? Is there anything veiling my consciousness from experiencing the hugeness of what I am, the hugeness of what you are? How can I surrender more deeply now? How can I surrender more deeply now? What's here? What are you feeling? What are you noticing? I invite you to allow the light of awareness to light up through the entirety of your being. So I invite you to feel your whole subtle energetic body coming alive. Your feet, your calves, your shins, your thighs, your pelvis, your hara, the solar plexus, the heart chakra. So you're just breathing and feeling and noticing the subtle energetic body. What's here? Is there anything stuck within you? Is there any old congested energy? You're giving yourself permission to surrender, to let go. How can I surrender more deeply now? So you're opening the throat chakra, the space of the third eye, the crown chakra. Just noticing, are there any old habits, old egoic tendencies, old ways of being that don't fully represent the hugeness of what you are, don't fully represent this divine innocence which you are? So we're taking some deep, full breaths. How can I surrender more deeply now? Each time the question is asked, I invite your awareness to open, to be more radically inclusive, to feel, to look, especially look where you normally don't look, where the body habitually is being held tense or guarded. There's old places within yourself where you feel like you're wearing a straitjacket. And so from this space of open-hearted awareness, we're asking, how can I surrender more deeply now? What's here? What's here that's wanting to be seen? That's wanting to be released? That's wanting to be loved? Wanting to be loved. There's so many things within our body that we've rejected, so many places which we've ignored. Some of us have treated our body like a workhorse. Some of us have forced our body to do incredibly difficult things, like run marathons, or stay up all night, or chase this thing or that thing. So many of us have ignored ourselves. Have spent decades ignoring this human body, this human form. And this poor body has been beat up, it's been abused. Sometimes other people have abused us, and we just swallowed the pain and went back to work because that's what we had to do. But in this moment, I invite you from a place of absolute love. Just ask this question: how can I surrender more deeply now? What's coming forward? What's coming forward? Before the space of your big innocent heart. Excuse me, what's coming forward, wanting to be seen, wanting to be released, wanting to be loved? How can I surrender more deeply now? Some of us hold this belief that we're not beautiful, that we're not divine, that we are not an angel, but rather we are unworthy. If you're one of the individuals who hold this belief, can you surrender this too? Can you see that what you are is a goddess? What you are is a master soul, an angel in human form. Can you see this tremendous space of innocence within you? And see that what you are is good. What you are is good, and your absolute divinity and also in your absolute humanity. If you have a negative belief about yourself, if you have your parents' belief about yourself, if you have life's beliefs about yourself that somehow you're no good, can you surrender this now? Can you give this back to life now? Can you take a deep breath and see that you're good. See that you're beautiful. See that you are innocent. Innocent. So I invite you to surrender anything which does not feel innocent. Anything which feels heavy or tight or old, habitual, egoic. Anything which is rough or angry or jaded. How can I surrender this to? This to now. And so I invite you to take a couple deep, full belly breaths and open your hearts, open your minds, open your body to receive this wonderful loving grace, this wonderful compassion coming down into you. So I invite you to feel a flood, a gentle wave, a soothing presence of grace coming down through the crown chakra, down through the top of the head, into the space of the third eye. Of course, we're fully relaxing and opening the throat if we haven't already, and allowing this stream of grace just to come down into the heart. And so the message I'm hearing from the Divine Mother this evening is you are loved. You are loved. I love you so much. So much, my child. Open and receive my grace. Open and receive this grace from the Mother above. Open yourself. Open yourself. And so this is good. We have spent a couple minutes just surrendering all the places within us that were tight and tense, and all the places within us that were confused, that were lost. And as we surrender those old habitual places, places where we guard, put walls between us and life, between us and God, then we invite God's grace to more fully flow into us and to bless us. Bless us. Life doesn't have to be so hard. We don't have to try to do everything ourselves. And so if there's any part of you that feels like life is too much, if you have a sickness or illness in your body, if you have a sickness or illness in your mind, if there's something in your genes that you struggle with, if you have a child on the way or a couple children at home, if you have a difficult boss, or a child who's struggling with drugs or eating disorder, being bullied, whatever it is, all of us, it's okay to admit that life here on planet Earth is difficult. And so we invite this grace into our life. We invite the Lord above to bless us, to hold us, to fill us with light, to give us the strength to go forward. We invite the Lord above to bless us with a more fuller experience of our absolute nature, to bless us with a depth of silence and freedom, give us the strength to wake up to what we truly are. What we truly are. So we can let go of the straitjacket that some of us find ourselves in. And so again, we're taking deep, full breaths. Just breathing and receiving. And so some of you may feel this intensity of light coming into the space of the third eye, filling the space of awareness with brilliance, with intensity. And so we're opening, and we are receiving something greater than our own egoic or thinking mind. We're opening and receiving an incredible love, an incredible light. We're giving ourselves permission to deepen into what we truly are. Vast, spacious awareness. Luminous brilliance. Overwhelming love and compassion. We're allowing bliss to wake up throughout the entirety of our form. You can feel as if 10 trillion cells are subtly vibrating with bliss, all coming alive, feeling luminous, waking up to the depth of what you are. Giving yourself permission to notice yourself as vast and spacious, empty yet full. Absolute fullness and absolute emptiness simultaneously. We're breathing in, breathing out, and saying yes to the depth of what you are. Yes. Deep, full breaths. Just feeling and experiencing. And I invite you in this moment just to notice, what is it that's happening within me? What's awakening within me? What is good and true and beautiful about me right here, right now? And so you're breathing, you're feeling, you're experiencing the hugeness of what you are, the depth, the intricacies of what you are. You're feeling awareness, vast, silent, and free. Feeling your heart flooded with light, flooded with love. Giving yourself full permission to say yes. Yes. To the absolute hugeness of what you are. To say yes to healing if your body needs healing. Yes to truth if your mind needs truth. Yes to silence if you've been overrun by emotional chaos. And so we're just breathing, feeling, and letting go. And saying yes, an absolute yes. And so I invite you just to open your eyes and just notice what you feel, what you see. How the inner world, this light that you feel inwardly, you also see it outwardly. You see the room that you're in, or the sky above is just dancing with light. There's this incredible mystery here. Incredible mystery, incredible freedom. This hugeness, this vastness. And so you're giving yourself full permission just to see. See radiance everywhere. See divinity everywhere, inside and out. Inside and out. And so, I received this question. It was quite an interesting question. It's a question that oftentimes I take for granted. And so and I received this question again and again this week in different forms. Someone was asking me, Craig, what is the subtle energy body? You know, most people who are on this path, they know what the space of awareness is. The space of awareness they often see as that silent witnessing. The space beyond mind, beyond ego, beyond emotion and habit. And oftentimes, the space of awareness is viewed, from like the third eye center, specifically in the eyes, like the physical eyes looking outward. And if we close our eyes, the space of awareness is the witness that notices the thoughts, passing through the space of the mind. But the subtle energy body is not simply awareness in our head. Our subtle energy body includes our whole physical body. Right underneath the physical body is this entire body called the subtle energy body. The subtle energy body doesn't actually have any edges. It's actually quite, translucent, and it doesn't have, how should we say that, exact edges. Your subtle energy body, actually, as you expand, as you become more connected with your Buddha nature, becomes as big as the world itself. Becomes huge. You feel as if your mind is as big as the sky. Your heart is as big as the sun. And so just to keep things simple so that we can experience this now, subtle energy body is oftentimes what you experience in meditation. You notice your 7 chakra centers lighting up. But beyond the 7 chakra centers, there's 10,000 nadis. Those are like miniature chakras throughout your body. And if you look at, well, what is the subtle energetic body made up of? Well, it's made up of light. It's made up of spaciousness and luminosity, compassion, profound strength. It's absolutely free. It's eternal and timeless, deathless. And so if you want to live here on planet Earth in a way with mastery, we have to get to know what we truly are. What we truly are. And so again, I invite you to get to know the witness, but the witness is just one small aspect. Actually, a minute aspect of what you truly are. What you truly are is the entire universe. This whole universe of being, this whole universe of presence. And, one of the things we can do with a subtle energetic body is we can wake up to the inside out through bringing awareness to the different aspects of our form. And so you can just simply kind of scan your subtle energy body and just bring awareness there and just feel. And I invite you not to allow it to be top down, but rather as each place you allow awareness to wake up in each place. So forgive me for the way I explained that. I invite you to imagine awareness waking up here in the space of the mind, awareness waking up here in the space of the heart, and to feel the difference, to feel what it's like as your heart wakes up and you claim this as what you are. You'll notice the way you experience yourself in your heart. It's radically different than how you experience yourself in the third eye. The third eye will oftentimes feel very silent and vast, whereas when you wake up in the heart, it will feel luminous, radiant, alive, sometimes blissful. Feel unified with all of life. And don't worry if you don't feel all these things at once. The more you give yourself permission to allow the subtle energetic body to wake up, the more incredible your experience of yourself becomes. So for example, in the solar plexus and also the hara, as you let go of your human will, that's the veil that covers the solar plexus and the hara, your human will, your fight, that part of you that's, whether it's a good worker bee or just fights with life or fights for its survival. As you let go of that veil and open through the doorway of trust, you begin to discover God's will, true will, this profound strength and freedom, but it's freedom through coming into alignment with the absolute truth, bringing your life into alignment with your highest, with your gifts, with your expression, your true expression here on earth. And so as you let go of the old veil and open to the truth, you begin to feel this incredible power and freedom. That feels very different than the silence you might feel in the space of the mind. And so it's important, if we want to live, if we want to start to walk in the direction of mastery, it's important that you get to know the depth of what you are, open to the truth of what you are. And so one of the ways, like I was describing, we can bring awareness, we can allow awareness to wake up in each of these centers, to spend some time investigating each center. With my teacher, we'd spend like 6 months or 9 months, sometimes years, just opening in one center, feeling in one center, experiencing in one center. Of course, when you first open, oftentimes you feel a heaviness, a denseness, a congestion. That's your karma. Karma being like those old egoic tendencies, those old habits. But as you sit with those, with a sense of openness, with a sense of love, those things begin to release. When we ask a question like we did this evening, how can I surrender this? So if you feel tension in your belly and you just sit with that, say, how can I surrender this now? How could I surrender more fully now? And so you soften there, you relax there, you breathe there. Sometimes it's important just to sit with a yogic asana there. If you have pain in the heart, to do a big heart opener for 15 or 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour. And just let those old tendencies break. And then you start to unveil the truth of your heart, the truth of the heart, the truth of the pelvis or whatever chakra you're working with. And so you can work with this. And then, of course, if any of you feels just an absolute deadness, one of the things that's helpful with the subtle energetic body is to exercise. When you exercise, you flood your body with oxygen. You start to break up these old habits, old tendencies. And one of the things that the ego likes to do is just like repeat like a presence of laziness again and again. But when we do something difficult like exercising or climb a mountain or push ourselves, in a physical way beyond how we've pushed ourselves before, what happens is we start to break things up within our consciousness. And so then if you do that for 15 or 20 minutes, do some vigorous exercise and you sit down and you begin to feel your subtle energetic body, you'll notice it's dancing with light. It's flooded with light and aliveness. It's a lot easier to get in touch with this thing. If you're just feeling it as dense, it's good to move the body, break it up, help to kickstart it, jumpstart it. And so, this is one way of inviting awareness to wake up from the inside out. Another way is to visit, like a massage therapist, a healer, an energy worker. Sometimes, when they place their hands on you and they, transmit, some type of healing energy, or massage your body in a way that helps it to wake up, then oftentimes your subtle energetic body just starts to come alive and say, yes, I'm looking for something new. I'm looking for something new. And so sometimes it can be helpful to see, like sometimes I'll go and see the chiropractor and she'll crack me, and then all of a sudden, I'll have these jolts of bliss, flood my subtle energetic body. Now beyond these ways, we can also do what I was described before, as we can sit down and be silent and then invite God to descend into us, to fill us with grace, to fill us with light. We can call upon her and say, Lord, will you come into me? Mother, will you wake me up? Will you show me the highest truth, the highest love, the highest compassion? And as you do so, anything that she blesses you with, anything that she starts to transmit, that she starts to bring forth into you, that becomes an aspect of your true nature. And so God can wake up whole new worlds in you, whole new divine realms. Last night I was out standing in the middle of the street, looking up at the night sky. I just noticed the universe is so huge, so vast, so spacious, so incredible. And I was looking at different stars and just was wondering, are there other beings looking back at me, smiling, waving at me? What's out there? What's out there? And so just as there's, a million worlds outside of us, there's also a million worlds within us. And so I invite you to open to your absolute nature, this space of silence, this space of freedom, and then invite God to show you a greater truth, a greater world than the one you're currently experiencing. If you do this again and again, what you'll find is God will start to come into you, will start flooding your being, flooding your body. My good friend Chad, who's with us this evening, he was a student of non-duality and following all these teachers. And he was focusing on the truth, focusing on the space of silence. And of course, that's a wonderful practice. And I invited him also to have a relationship with God, to invite her into his body. And he just started to describe that he's starting to feel these floods, these flows of energy throughout his being. Oftentimes he'll just be sitting there and he'll be spontaneously blessed with light and love, and he's finding whole new worlds waking up within his consciousness. And so if any of you have woken up to silence, silence is an incredible realm. It's an incredible aspect of what you are. Silence is our birthright. But after a while, after you've become established in the space of silence, can you invite the silence to come alive, to be flooded with bliss? Can you invite the intelligence of God to come into this silence that you are? And show you something else incredible. Wake you up from the inside out. Wake you up from the inside out. Bless you in a huge way, in a full way. And so we're opening again and again and again to what we are, to the hugeness of what we are. We're saying, yes, there must be something here. Something beyond my everyday humanity. There must be something here. Something here. And so I invite you just to feel into this, to experience this for yourself and see what is it? What is it that the God above is wanting to show me, wanting to teach me? And of course, oftentimes it comes down just to this basic question of what is it that I have to surrender? With my good friend Chad, he had to surrender his old non-dual dogmatic ideas that, I'm only supposed to focus on truth, because sometimes we're part of a teaching that says, we read in the book, Adyashanti said, I only want to know the truth. And so he just focused on the truth. And so we sit with that question again and again and again. But at some point, it's important that we release those old questions. We start to experiment with something new. We start to open to that which is new. God is not simply the truth. God is not simply silence. God is not simply vast, spacious awareness. God is also love and compassion and tenderness and innocence and freedom. Awareness can be experienced so many different ways. You can experience awareness within the body. You can also experience it non-locally. Non-locally. Like, what's that like? And so there's so many different ways. So many different ways to experience the hugeness of what you are. Yes, Brad here writes, be the exuberant dance in the absolute stillness. Yes, this is the truth here. Be both. Experience both. To be honest, stillness after a while is quite boring. God herself, when she was simply, all the energy, all the matter in the universe, got bored with her expression of stillness, and so she exploded open and expressed herself trillions upon trillions of ways. And so let the teacher, the teacher of all teachers, come into you, speak to you intimately, have a personal relationship with her. Even the great Ramana Maharshi, he had tremendous love for God in the form of the mother, tremendous love for the presence of the sacred mountain Arunachala. And so we are opening to the fullness of everything. Everything. And so a great question for inquiry is God, what is my next step? Can you help me to let go of my dogma, my spiritual dogma that I picked up from reading too many spiritual books? You know, when I was quite young, I read all these books of the great Hindu masters, the great yogic masters. And I would read about Yogananda, and then Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Nityanandaji, Satguru Maharaj, Ramana Maharshi, Sri Aurobindo, whoever it was. I read so many stories. And with each one, I noticed this tendency to develop a dogma. You know, when I was with Adyashanti, I'd noticed that I started to develop, you know, some of his Zen dogma. And there's nothing wrong with a particular teacher's dogma or their teaching, you know, even if it's very much an alive teaching, because all those people I just mentioned are all great masters. But I noticed this very small habit within myself where I was repeating their teaching within me, looking for their truth within me. But then I began to have my own relationship with God. Say, God, you show me the highest truth, the highest teaching, my next step forward. You show me my highest expression. You give birth in me as me. And so what I noticed was my body started to become so much more alive and vibrating with light because God was teaching me throughout my day, throughout my work week. When I was driving down the road, when I was out in the desert, I felt this presence of love. You know, I notice that so many people, when they connect with stillness, oftentimes they feel this great fear and loneliness. You know, that last night I watched this movie. It was a very interesting movie. It's called The Last. Maybe I'm completely confused here. Maybe it's called The First Man. I want to call it The Last Man, but it was The First Man. You know, about Neil Armstrong, about walking on the moon. And it was incredible to see him just standing on the moon. And even though he was there with his friend Buzz, you could just feel like this supreme emptiness and aloneness within his consciousness as he stood there on the moon, you know, looking out at the vast empty space. A lot of people get really depressed when they first encounter stillness. They get depressed. Some people oftentimes will have like a panic attack, you know, because they'll feel utterly alone and frightened. What they do not realize is God is everywhere. In the stillness, in the silence, this tremendous love and support is everywhere, holding us, nurturing us. This silence, this stillness is not a dead, empty stillness. It's an overwhelming, loving stillness. And so to give yourself full permission to be held here. And so if you don't feel held, you can look at God and say, Mother, will you hold me? Will you hold me? Will you come into me? Will you nurture this body, this mind? Will you hold me, you know, as I face, you know, this chronic illness or chronic pain or this genetic disorder. You hold me while I try to parent or do my best. Will you take this life of mine and carry me, Lord? Carry me. And so for those of you, oftentimes there's individuals who they have trauma with their mother or their father. And when we have this type of trauma, oftentimes we don't trust something greater than ourselves. We have this unconscious belief or thought that I cannot trust something greater. We try to do everything on our own. And we develop this shadow, and it's a shadow of like pure independent energy. The Buddha did it all by himself. I'm going to do it all by myself. I don't need anyone. I don't mess around with God. I do it all on my own. But most people don't realize this is a tremendous shadow. There is no doing it on your own. You wake up out of independence, and what you discover is unity. Unity with all of life. Unity with the God above. You wake up and realize you are so loved, so supported, so nurtured, despite the hell you've been through. Because, so many of us, we don't feel this nurturance. And so anyways, let's see here. I had a couple things, I'd like to share here. Someone wrote into me, and they're a good friend of mine, someone who I deeply respect, and she wrote in with some helpful tips for people who struggle. Because sometimes on the path, when our subtle energetic body wakes up, sometimes it can be overwhelming. It can be confusing. It can be, just chaotic at times. As you transition out of knowing yourself as just purely this physical body and this egoic structure, as you start to realize yourself as this energetic truth, this energetic aliveness, this space of freedom. Sometimes there can be, like we've spoke about so much in the past, there can be great rushes of energy and intensity. Sometimes just life on the path can be difficult. We can have panic attacks and anxiety and overwhelming feelings and emotions. And I thought I'd just share some of these tips because, they're good, and they're things that, maybe I've forgotten. And so one of the things that she writes here is she recommends that if you're struggling with too much energy or intense emotions, to get yourself in a good routine, especially with sleep. And if you cannot sleep, I also encourage you, just to lay there in Shavasana and to help the body to fully relax, even if the energetic body is like amped up. Like sometimes the body gets stuck in a place of like chronic fatigue or fight or flight. And so it can be important to try to sleep, but not try hard. Sometimes we just lay in Shavasana and we just breathe. So Shavasana is, where you just lay flat and you're just taking deep, full belly breaths. You're feeling into each chakra center. And you're letting the energy run. But you're giving your body permission just to relax. And so she writes, try to go to bed early and get up early. Less artificial light is better, so don't stay up all night. Sleep is vital for not losing your mind. This is good. I like this. Sleep is vital. So many of us on the path, sometimes when our subtle energetic body wakes up, it gets really amped up. Or if we're in a real deeply egoic place, I know I've had many times in my life where I was just lost in ego and I wasn't sleeping. I was just like being up all night. But it's good just to lay down and do your best to rest and not try to stay up all night. She writes, also lavender oil and some kind of oil diffuser is very good. It's very good for sleep and settling the nervous system. Yeah, that's a good tip. Another one is, she said, if you're having trouble eating, make soup in large batches and freeze it in single servings. This is a cheap way to have nourishing food on hand when you're not feeling well enough to cook. These times are exactly when your body needs good food. And especially if you have too much energy, a good soup that has like carrots and potatoes in it, or sweet potatoes or squash, things that are grown in the earth can be really grounding for you. Here's a fun one that she writes. Slowly build a playlist of soothing and uplifting music to settle the mind and your mood. You can play it around the house, just lie in bed with headphones when things are very intense. I've been building mine for a couple of years and aim to have 108 songs, like musical mala beats. That must be one of the songs that she plays, and she'll play that one for 8 hours. It becomes a practice just of its own, to feel into this, just to let the music play, soothe the body. Do daily yoga at home. Use one of the many apps, and you don't have to know. Use one of the apps. There's all kinds of free apps for yoga. Of course, there's YouTube for yoga. And then you can build your own practice. This can be very helpful. When fear is strong, use guided meditation to help keep things friendly. Insight Timer is a good free app with thousands of guided meditations. Yeah, these are good. These can be supportive. If we're struggling with a little too much energy in the body or feeling overwhelmed. To me, a daily yoga and meditation practice, even if we feel like garbage, if you just do it. And sometimes, with people, like if you're really struggling, a daily meditation practice looks like just laying flat and breathing. And letting, sometimes if we lay flat, we just look at the clouds float by through the sky. Sometimes just, going out and laying in the grass, or even here in Colorado, I've been just out laying in the snow sometimes with my little girl, and just seeing that, that can be real helpful. So those are all wonderful tips, so thank you for sharing. Here's a question I have. This one says, hi, Craig. This is just I just want you to know I am very afraid of death. What really happens after death? Is there hell or heaven? And so, yes, my friend, there's heaven. And the good news is we all get to go to heaven. We all get to go to heaven. Now, within heaven, there's like 1,000,000 realms in heaven. In fact, one of the things that can happen as you start to deepen in your meditation practice, as you open to this grace and transmission from above, what happens is very specific heaven worlds start to wake up in you. Literally start to wake up in you, and you're able to access these realms. And so you can access the realm of the absolute. You can access the realm of the 10,000 Buddhas. You can access realms of dakinis or angels. But your job is simply to open to your realm. And so it seems that there's some place within you where you're stuck in fear. If you don't have a relationship with God, if you have a relationship purely with your ego, that's hell. That's what hell is. When you're divorced from God, by God I mean the love, the intelligence, the compassion, the peace, the freedom, life itself. If you're divorced from this and stuck in your mind, that's hell. We don't need a hell with flames. And so many of us, we can work ourselves up into a hell realm, just by thinking about someone who has done us wrong. Think of someone who's done us wrong, and we can quickly find ourselves in hell. So is there a hell with flames? No. No. Is there a world that is so incredibly bright it feels like your ego's being burned alive? Yes. Yes, there's that realm. I've been with my teacher before, and there was times when there would be like an angel that would come into the room, and the room would be so bright that you'd want to run out of there screaming because of the intensity of the light. But that wasn't hell. That was an angel coming down from very high realm, like the absolute realm. And so, my friend, I encourage you to trust, to open your heart to God. To ask this question of the Lord above. Don't ask your ego, because your ego will tell you insecurity is what its response will be in one form or another. Fear, doubt. And that's actually your truth telling you you're connected with a wrong aspect of yourself. All of us were given an ego that is made up of insecurity. It's actually a good thing. It keeps you safe, keeps you from walking off a cliff or sticking your hand in a fire. Keeps you alive for as long as it can here on planet Earth. But what you are, my friend, is deathless. Deathless. There's no end to any of us. Occasionally I get these visions of my previous incarnations, and I can remember one where I just, it was funny. I was actually at my teacher's house, and I was looking at my shadow, and I saw the shadow of like a Vietnamese farmer, like working in the rice paddies. I just saw myself there. I just got like a quick glimpse of, just like toiling around in the rice paddies, And I've had many incarnations where, like a yogic monk, Buddhist monk, Christian monk, Catholic monk, whatever, and so many incarnations where I died in wars, those as well. Those were kind of bizarre, but you don't have to pay any attention to this. But when you start to open in your third eye, when you start to open in your heart, all kinds of new realities start to come forward into your consciousness, and you discover there's so much to this world than my ego. And my ego knows. And so I invite you, my friend, just to open your heart and experience this eternal nature that you are, this absolute innocence that you are. And so, a couple announcements before we end. One, I just want to say hi to everyone. Hello. A lot of you joined a little bit late, but it's good to see a lot of familiar faces in the room. So just hello to everyone. A big hug and namaste out to all of you. I'm going to start this online meditation group. I thought we were going to have the technology together to start it this coming Wednesday, but I'll start it in a week and a half. So whenever that is, that'll be mid-February sometime. So just look on my website for details. It'll be Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So you can do the math there for yourself. And it will be by donation only. So you have to offer a little something just to get in the room. Won't be much, but we're working out the technology on that. And then, of course, if you want to offer a donation for tonight's webcast, you can go to my website, craigholiday.com. Offer something there. It's very supportive for me. And thank you for everyone. A big thank you to Suzanne, who does so much of this work behind the scenes, and putting everything online and everything. So big heartfelt thank you to her. And finally, I thought we just end on, just this gentle prayer. So you can close your eyes. And I want you just to imagine just opening your heart. Imagine your heart is like this giant lotus flower. Just looking up toward God. Saying, Mother, will you flood me with your light? Will you flood me with your peace and your highest grace? Will you bless us all here on planet Earth? Help us to get along. Help us to heal our bodies, to empty our minds, to come in contact with your highest truth. May your truth, may your light, may your love flood into us and then flood out of us to our friends, to our families, to our neighbors, to our enemies, to everyone. May this life of ours be a blessing. And so I encourage you just to breathe that in, to feel that in your heart. To say yes to the Most High transmission coming through you. And so thank you all for joining me. Peace be with you all. And have a wonderful night or morning or whatever time of day it is. Thank you all for sharing yourselves with me. I feel so incredibly blessed to be with you all.